Well, hi, everyone. I'm Mary Elizabeth. I'm the head of external affairs and community here at Robinhood. And with me today, I have the one and only Ali Webb, the founder of Drybar. And I am just so thrilled to have her here to be a part of our conversation series around overcoming obstacles to achieve financial empowerment, which is an incredibly important topic for us here at Robinhood, as financial inclusion and financial literacy is something that's just right at the core of our mission to democratize finance for all. So thank you, Ali, for being here. And I'll kick it to you to just introduce yourself.
Well, I guess if you're a woman listening to this, you probably heard of at least Drybar, maybe me. If you're a man, maybe you heard about it from a girlfriend or wife or sister. But yeah, I started this company alongside my brother and my ex-husband 11 years ago. And I didn't go to college. I didn't know much about business. I certainly didn't know anything about financial anything. But I feel like I always say I got kind of a business degree on the job because I learned so much about how to run a business, scale a business, grow a business. I mean, the ups and downs. And my parents were entrepreneurs, so I kind of had that entrepreneurial blood, and I had good instincts, but I didn't really know anything. And so it was a really fun process of learning and growing and figuring out how to, manage the business and run it. And we used to always say it was kind of ours to mess up. And because we had really kind of captured lightning in a bottle with Drybar. And, there's so much to talk about, but, 11 years later, we sold the product division of our company about 2 years ago. We recently had another acquisition. We've raised, over 75 million in the last, 11 years. So, it's done pretty well. I feel like, very proud of what we've built, of the jobs that we've created, the need that we met. And now I've gone on to create and co-found other companies. And that's another passion project of mine. Bunch of other things I have going on, as well as investing in friends' companies and bigger investments. So yeah, there's a lot.
Well, absolutely incredible, right? Like just a really incredible story you've got. And, I'm excited to kind of dive in a little bit more. One thing that I kind of wanted to anchor our conversation around today was just the concept of financial confidence, right? Like personal confidence in your own personal finances. And I think that means something different to everybody, but it's also something that's incredibly important to every single person. And so, I'd love to kind of just dive in a bit deeper there and maybe start with a question around, I imagine venturing out and starting your own business and like trailblazing through all of these different kinds of businesses. It's a huge decision, right? That first leap, both mentally and financially. So it'd be helpful to hear you talk a bit about how did you get yourself to a place where you felt both comfortable and confident to just like go for it, right? And invest in yourself and launch your own business.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't really know how the financial part of any of it worked. Like I said, my parents were entrepreneurs, but I never really knew how they did it. Mm-hmm. And my brother, Michael Landau, and I, ventured in kind of entrepreneurship when we were younger. We started, we were both working for Nicole Miller in New York City, and then we moved to South Florida and opened up a couple of Nicole Miller franchises. But again, Michael handled all like the financial stuff with that. So and frankly, this is probably not the greatest platform to say this on, but like, I was never interested in financing. It's just like numbers just don't really stay in my brain. There's been times where I'm like, what's my salary again? Like that bad. I know now, but it just wasn't like, and by the way, and it should be said that like, the whole impetus of starting Drybar was not like, oh, I want to start this company so I can get really rich. I started this because I really wanted to do something that I loved, which I think is important to be said for anybody who's listening to this. It's like, if you're an entrepreneur, like go from that versus like, how do I get really rich? And go for something that you love.
And I think, with Drybar, you've made, something that it feels so luxurious, accessible, right? And I think with finance and personal finance, for everyone, right? To be able to feel confident in where you are and wherever you are in your journey. So I see a lot of overlap there. And I think one other thing that you touched on, it sounds like your family is really important to you, right? In a lot of different ways throughout your life. And, through some research that we've done, as well as just within my own life, I think that it's clear that having important mentors in your life and all topics, but especially personal finance, can play such a pivotal role in your development and in your relationship with money specifically. So it would be great to hear you talk a bit about any like special support systems or mentors that you have in your life, and hopefully that can resonate with people.
Yeah, well, I would say having a person around you that you really trust implicitly. And I was so lucky on so many levels to have my brother Michael as that person, because and we really did have, we had the same amount of equity in the company, and we always kept that the same. Even when we were raising money and we were getting diluted, we were talking, we had the same kind of skin in the games. And so it was good. He's really been like the biggest kind of mentor in my life in that way, of helping me navigate the financial piece of this, of my life. And now, like I mentioned, I have and now I realize, now I have people that I trust around me as well, that are helping me kind of, manage my finances. And it's really interesting though, to your point, it's like, there's different times in your life where you have more or less money, but it really is important how you're managing that. And, I've told a lot of people and my friends, who might be struggling more with money, like I'm pretty like calculated, and I know exactly how much money I can spend every month to not like go beyond my means. And those means fluctuate for everybody. And I used to keep track of it in like an app where I would like put every time I spent money, I would put it into this app, and I would make sure I knew exactly how much money, and it would deduct it. And then if I had extra, it would go into the next month. And that was very satisfying for me, to be able to take control. It's very empowering, right? To know how much money you have at all times, how much money you can spend, how much, what money's at your disposal, where you can like splurge and where you can't. And I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble, in my experience, and my own personal trouble that I used to get into, where it's like, I would spend more money than I had. And it's such an uncomfortable feeling. And so gaining control of that has always been a big deal to me. And it's something that I pay very close attention to, and watch what I'm spending. And I think, it's like financial freedom, wherever you're at, like, taking control of your finances, I think is so empowering and key. And getting those people around you, which is largely, to answer your question, been my brother. And now, my financial advisors is a dear friend of mine who I also trust implicitly. He's like family to me, and it's his firm. And so I had many, many, many conversations with these guys to make sure I understood. And I dig in a little bit deeper than I used to when I was married, because I really I really need to understand what's happening and what's going on here. And that's another, empowering piece, that I'm like, at all moments, I know what's happening in all the different areas in my life.
My last question for you would be, our mission here at Robinhood is to democratize finance for all. And it would be, I'd love to hear from you, like, what does that mean to you? How does that show up in your life, democratizing finance for the everyday person, for people?
Yeah, well, I think it's like, it's funny. We just launched this new concept called OK Humans, which is like it's kind of the Drybar of therapy, and it's like, it reminds me of that, it's like, let's make therapy like a normal thing, and destigmatize it. And it's the same thing with finance. It's so fascinating to me that everybody tiptoes around money in almost every realm, right? It's like, yep. And I do it too. And I'm guilty of it too. It's like, I don't want to tell somebody exactly how much money I make, and I don't want to tell somebody how much money I have, and it's funny because I have, a girlfriend of mine, Jamie Kern Lima, she's the founder of It Cosmetics, and she sold to L'Oreal for like $1 billion, something crazy. And she, like, alongside me and some of my other founder friends, were asked to be on the cover, or asked to be on, or in I think it was Forbes, that was doing a story on like women and their net worth. And I was like, I declined that story because I didn't want to put that out there. And she didn't. She talked about it. And I remember having a conversation when I was with her, and I was like, didn't you feel uncomfortable, like for people to know like how much money you have? And she's like, no, I want women, I want to be, out there saying like women, it's not just men who are making this kind of money and kind of celebrating it, as women too. And I really love that perspective on it. And back to your question, it's like, I think that people being more open and fluid about money and investments and what they're doing and what this looks like is important. And, I don't think that I'm the person that's, pioneering that, but I want to be on the train, talking about it a little bit more openly than I have.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly right. And I think that's exactly why we wanted to have this conversation, right? To normalize having these conversations around things that I think you're right, people can tiptoe around, but opening up the expanding access means expanding the conversation and bringing more people into it. And so I'm grateful that you're here and spending this time with us and talking about all of these wonderful things. And just thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I know it's great to talk about it. It's like, if it helps somebody like kind of figure out where they're going and how to navigate, like, then that's great. Open up that conversation for sure.